Okay. Yes, we'll have to wait for a couple of more minutes for more of your friends to join. Till then, yeah, let's just let's just wait for them. Okay. So maybe we'll have to wait for a couple of more minutes. I mean, even after 2 minutes or even in 1 minute, I don't see a lot of people joining. So let's start in 5 10 minutes. Okay. Cool then. Let me enable chat for you. Just a second. Yeah. Yeah, I'm allowing you to talk. Yeah, bro, Amit, go ahead. Do you want to ask something? Yeah. Is there anything that you want to ask, or you have just raised hand without knowing? I mean, was it a mistake, or do you really want to ask something? Okay, just muting you back. Anyways, so yeah, when you raise hand, I get to know about it, and I feel that you have some doubt or something. Okay, that's why I thought that you have a doubt. So yesterday we had started with functions, right? And we have seen a very basic idea. We have taken a very basic idea of functions, and today also, when we are going to study user input, we are not going to stress too much about it, right? It's not a topic to get emotional with. We'll just understand what's important for us, and then we will move on to more important topics. Okay, so we have array, 2D array, more important topics waiting for us. So we'll just discuss it. We will understand what's important for us, and then we'll just move on, right? I'm waiting for a couple of more minutes so that more of your friends join, and then we will get started. Because tonight's class is at the regular time, so I don't think that we should be seeing this low attendance. But if it's still like this, let's say in 4 or 5 in next 4 or 5 minutes, then we will get started anyways. Okay. Until then, if anyone else has any doubts, maybe related to assignments or the topics that we have seen, you can just go ahead and ask it, right? Otherwise, yeah, just I guess I'll also need a couple of minutes to, yeah. So let's do one thing, right? Let's just get started at 8:10 only. Okay. I'm also going to need these 4 minutes. I have to do something, and then we'll get back. Okay. So let's meet at 8:10, everyone. Okay. Sounds good. So we'll start in 4 minutes. Okay, I guess now we can't wait any further, right? We'll just get started. There are certain changes that I have to make to one question before I can present it to you. So just give me 1 more minute and then I'll just start sharing my screen and we'll get started. Okay, just give me a minute to sort it out. Just a second. Okay, I think now we can get started. Cool. So, before I start with telling you how to take user input in JavaScript, let us just have a quick recap of the discussion that we had yesterday. Okay, we have just discussed what functions are, and before we did that, we also discussed why we need functions in the first place, right? So, the bottom line of yesterday's discussion is whenever we need to use a particular logic multiple number of times, it is better to write it in one place and use that one place logic every time we need to use it, right? So basically, I'll just write just give me one more. I forgot to connect my writing device. Yeah. So if there is a piece of code that I need multiple number of times, right? So what I'll do is I will just enclose it within a block. And each time I need this particular logic, each time I want to implement this particular logic, I will just call it. And that is literally what it's called, right? Calling the function. Okay. So you write the logic in one place, and each time you need to perform that logic, you will just call it. That is the only discussion that we had yesterday, right? So what I'll do is instead of telling you all the theory all over again, I'll just go ahead and take up one more question so that we can just wrap up our discussion, our basic discussion on functions. And then what we will do is we will get started with the new topic that is taking user input, right? That is also very interesting, but yeah, we'll talk about it later. So let me just take up one more question, right? So this is very basic. This one, yeah, let's at least take up this one, right? Cool. So what you can see here is, in fact, what you can see in all the questions that we have been solving so far, there is already some code written before you go ahead and solve a question. Let's say I selected JavaScript here, something else was written. When I refreshed it, it is still present here, right? Some piece of code is always present in all the questions, right? So this piece of code, which is already present, is called as a driver code, right? Let me just start a new page only. This code is called as the driver code, right? And what does the name suggest? What does it mean? So driver code is the actual code, or you can say it is the code that is going to execute your whole program. You are only supposed to fill in the blanks. You are only supposed to add the logic that the particular question requires. Everything else will be taken care of by the driver code. So in all your coding examinations, be it your entry level coding test, or be it your actual company interview or company coding test, everywhere you will be provided with the driver code. You will be provided with the function name. All you will have to do is to fill in the blanks for the function. The function name will be given, the arguments, the inputs that the function will take will also be provided to you, right? Everything will be provided to you. All you need to do is just fill in the blanks, just fill your logic inside the function that is already present. So the function definition is something like this will be there, right? Let's just see this one only. Function modify name, right? So everything is written here. All you have to do is to fill in your logic, right? Just complete this function definition. So this is the kind of questions that you will be asked in 99, or you can say, to be on a safer side, 95% of the cases, right? There might be one or two, let's make it 99 only. There is no company that asks you to write the, complete code. But yeah, maybe taking into account that 1% that I have excluded here, maybe 1% of the companies will ask you to write everything, right? Rest everyone is more concerned with how you can solve a particular question, like what is the main logic that you are going to use. So no one is going to waste your time on taking user input, or maybe printing the output or operations like that. What you will be supposed to do is just write the main logic and be done with it. That is what the main intention of the companies is, right? Anyways, that was just one thing that I wanted to share with you. So the code that is already written there is called the pre-driver code, right? Which is already present, and it is important to execute the complete thing that you will be making. But all the redundant part, for example, taking the user input, printing the output, all these kind of things are handled already, right? You will just have to come and write your main logic, write the main logic of the function. Okay. Anyways, let's just see what this question is asking us to do, right? Very simple question, very simple question, but I am only interested in sharing this because just to introduce, or just to clear out the idea of what a function is, right? So what we can see here is you are given a string name of the user, right? So you are given a string. What are strings? I have already told you, like we have numbers, like we have boolean values, true false, we have strings also. Strings are basically words or sentences, right? Anything that any message, any word that you would want to print would be enclosed within the double inverted commas or the single inverted commas in case of JavaScript, right? Either of the things work. Those kind of values are considered as string values, right? So if you want to take the input, or if you want to consider a name, for example, Neeraj, Bhavya, Rajat, these are all names, right? And the only way you can take these values into account is through strings, right? So these kind of values are called as strings, or your word sentences are strings only, right? So you will be given a string name of the user. So name is the variable name, right? The user gives his name to you, and your task is to return the string name is a superhero, right? So let's say the user says AccioJob, right? So your output will be AccioJob is a superhero. Let's say the the user enters Muzammil, right? So you will say Muzammil is a superhero, something like that. And if I just so there is one more feature that is available on the portal that we have never discussed, but let's say the user's name is any superhero, let's say Batman, right? The user says Batman. Now, you have not written any code yet, right? You can see we have not written any code yet, but we want to know what should be the output for Batman. So there is one more button present here, get expected output, which tells you what should be the output for this particular value, for this particular input value, what should be the output, right? So let's see what should be the output if the input is Batman. Batman is a superhero, right? Now, if I change it to, let's say, Sorry, I made a mistake. Our code does not have anything yet, right? So let's click on expected output only. Superman is a superhero, right? Sorry, Spider-Man. I forgot. Spider-Man is a superhero. So whatever you write in the input, whatever name is given, should be displayed as the, like, should be replaced here, and the complete sentence should be whatever your input is, whatever your name is a superhero. That is what the intention of this particular question is. Very simple, very straightforward. So the sentence we have to make is something is a superhero, right? And what is that something? That will be given to us with the help of this particular variable. So if you see the function definition now, if you see the function definition, whatever is provided to us, what do we see? We see the word function, we see the name of the function as modify name, and we already see an input parameter. So this variable name is going to be passed to us as an input, right? This variable will be passed to us as an input. Now, what do we need to do with it? We need to include it in our message. And what do we want to say? Is a superhero. Let's see if there is anything else that we need to take into consideration, or can we just go ahead and do console.log? You have to complete modify name function, okay, which consists of single string name as the input. Everything is mentioned here, and return the string as mentioned above. This is one thing I wanted to focus on, right? So you are not supposed to print the output inside the function. No, you are supposed to return this particular answer that you have evaluated. You are supposed to return it, right? So yesterday only we have seen how we can return a particular value. Just write the word return and write the value in front of it. If you just want to return without any value, just write return. Okay. In this case, we want to return a particular value. And what is that value? Something is a superhero. So whatever name variable is given to you, name is a superhero. That is what we want to return. So what we will do is, I will just divide this whole operation into two parts, right? So what I'm planning to do here is, first, let me make up the string that I want to return. First, let me make that up. And then in the next step, I will return it, right? So what we need to do here is, let's call it answer, right? Because this is the answer that we will be returning, right? So answer, or let's call it sentence, is equal to, so see, what is the part of the sentence? Name. Plus, what else is there? There will be a space between name and is, right? So I'm giving that space. Then what do we have? Is a superhero. Let's just copy that. Why do we have to do this hard work? So this is what we want to, like, this is the final answer that should be returned, right? This, whatever name it is, because it's a variable, whatever will be passed here will be reflected here, right? And will be stored in our sentence variable. So this is a superhero. Whatever is passed to us inside the name, inside this particular variable, will be included as a part of this sentence. Do you guys agree? So far, are we on the same page? Tell me. Yeah, sorry for the disturbance. Yeah. Do you guys agree with this? Whatever input is passed to us, whatever is the value contained inside of this name, that is a superhero. So if the name contains Shyam, the answer will be Shyam is a superhero. If the name contains Ram, the answer will be Ram is a superhero. That's exactly what we need to do. Now that we have the answer in the sentence variable, what do we need to do? Now I need to return this value. So if I want to return a particular value, like yesterday we saw how we can return the sum. So now I want to return this whole sentence as the output. How can I do that? यहाँ पे I need your support. I am not going to write it on my own, right? अरे brother Sumit, control yourself, bro. बताओ, how will we do it? अरे you guys know it. All of you know it. So now I just want to return. The answer is constructed, right? This is the answer that I want, right? This particular sentence. Now I want to return this particular sentence, right? What happens when I return from a function? The value that I have returned is actually sent back to the place from where the function was called, right? Are you guys able to see my screen? Listen to me properly. Is is everything all right? Why do I not see any responses yet? Okay, okay, okay. So tell me, guys, I don't understand. I mean, we have discussed this yesterday, right? So what is the point of confusion? All I am asking you is, I have already constructed the answer, right? What are the two possibilities? One possibility is that I have constructed this answer and now I will just print this answer while I am inside the function, right? In Hindi, the same thing. इस फंक्शन में रहते रहते ही या तो मैं ये वैल्यू प्रिंट कर दूं, राइट? एक पॉसिबिलिटी ये है. बट इन दिस क्वेश्चन यू हैव सीन दैट यू हैव टू रिटर्न द स्ट्रिंग as mentioned above. So as mentioned above is basically this condition. So we have constructed it. Now we want to return this string, right? We don't want to print the output here. What do we want to do? We want to construct the answer. We want to use the logic and construct the answer. And now we want to give that back. We want to pass it back to the place from where this function was called. You can see in the whole scenario, you can see this is where the function was called, right? This is where the function was called. So now what we will do? So this is where the function was called. So what will happen if I return a string from here? If I return some value from here, that value will be received here, right? That value will be received here. And as it is, it will be printed because it is present inside console.log, right? That is what's going to happen, right? And if you want me to make it even, one step simpler, what I can help you with is, let's say, let answer is equal or answer string. Let's call it result only. That's easier. Let result is equal to this thing, right? And then what? I can simply print the result. If this is more convenient for you, yeah, this is also a way to go, right? This is also one way to solve it, right? So what will happen? My answer will reach here. Whatever I'm returning will reach here. It will be stored in this variable. And in the next line, it will be printed, right? So for all of this to happen, I will have to return some value from here, right? And what should I return? My sentence variable has everything that I need in my answer, right? So I should just return that. Yes, yes, yes. Sumit, you are absolutely right. And yeah, I know that all of you know that. But exactly, Asif, I want you to tell me what should I write here? Ah, okay. It's good that I asked this, and now when I tell the solution, all of you will realize. I mean, all of you just tell me whether is it clear or like do I need to explain it even further? Because this is what I was asking. You have constructed the answer. Now just return it. This is all I was asking for. So this is your hard work, right? This is the logic that you have thought of. This is what you have prepared. This is the variable that you have prepared. Now all you need to do is just return it back. And now what will happen? So let's just understand the whole picture, right? So now this particular function is called here, right? The function is called here. Okay. So what do we do when the function is called? We go to the function and we start executing it. So what will happen now? A variable let sentence is equal to this thing. So what will happen as a result? Whatever name is passed to us, whatever variable is passed to us, that will be added. That will be this string will be concatenated to that variable, right? So let's say Bhavya was passed here. So what will happen? Bhavya will be present here. Then is a superhero will also be added to that. So the complete thing that will be stored in my sentence variable will be Bhavya is a superhero. Or let's say Sumit is a superhero, whatever, right? And that whole thing will be stored in my sentence, right? So sentence has the exact answer that I need. And now what do I need to do? I need to return this value back, right? So I have constructed my sentence properly. And in the next line, I'm returning sentence. Return sentence. Return tells the function that now it's your time to go back. If there is anything written in front of if there is anything written in front of the return statement, you will just carry that with you. If there is nothing present, you will just go back from the function. You will just exit the function. In our case, sentence is written in front of the return statement. So we will take this sentence along with us when we go back to the place from where the function was called. So when we will come back here, we will come back with the value sentence. And what will happen? When the value sentence is received here, it will be stored in the result variable. And in the next line, it will be printed, right? So earlier in the code, what was happening, like before I made this change, it was directly getting printed. Because you see, modify name, like when you are calling this function, essentially it's a string only, right? Essentially it's a string, because when the function will be called and the returned value will be captured here, it is going to become a string because the value that is being returned is a string, right? So this is the whole story. You will call it, we will come here with some particular input, we will then construct our sentence, and then we will go back with the sentence that we have constructed, right? That is all the story. And now that we go back, this value will be captured here, and then the further iterations, the story will continue further, right? So is this idea fundamentally clear to all of you? Let me just launch the poll for people joining in for the first time. Poll is something that I used so that you can let me know whether the concept is clear or not. And for people who are joining in today for the first time, I'm sorry, but I don't really expect you to understand it because you have missed substantial amount of classes. Now, if you want to continue further, you will need to watch those classes, right? Or what you can do is you can just reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you have any doubts, if you encounter any doubts while watching the previous recordings, you can just always reach out to me. But now I can't say that join in and you will understand everything later on. No. If you are an absolute programming beginner and you are joining in for the first time, today's class is going to make a little less sense for you. Okay. You can still choose to stay back. You will understand a thing or two, but I mean, you won't really get 100% clarity that I want my students to get. Okay. Anyways, Neelam, what did you say? Neelam, what you are saying is neither right nor wrong, because you are just telling me an alternate approach of what could have been here, right? In this case, technically speaking, you are wrong, but you know like your code is also going to produce the same output as mine. That's why I'm not in a position to say anything, right? But the point is, the whole agenda of this question was to teach you how to return a value from a function, and that's fairly simple, right? What is the job of a function? Perform certain task to do certain calculation, and then if needed, return with some particular value. It is possible that a function ends and does not return anything, right? It is possible that a function does not take any input also. All of those possibilities are there. It is possible that a function takes the input but does not return anything. That is also possible. But in our case, what is the possibility? What is being asked of us? अपने को क्या करने को बोला जा रहा है? That a function, like an input will be given to you, and you need to return with the output, right? You need to return the output, right? That is exactly what is mentioned, and return the string as mentioned above. So make the string based on the logic that is given to you above, and then just return that string, right? That's all that was asked of us, right? So now what will we do? We will just return with this particular sentence that we have constructed. That's all, right? This is the only learning point of this question, right? So if it's not clear, please ask me what's not clear, because I mean, that is something I'll need to know before I go ahead and start explaining the whole thing again. Something that we have already explained, that we have already covered yesterday, right? Anyways, Neelam, did you get my point? You can use, so an alternate approach could be this. Right? Console.log sentence within the same function, right? In this case, I don't really need all this, all this thing. I don't need to store any I don't need to store any value, or I don't need to do any hard work. I'll just reach this function, make my sentence, and print it right there. And then I'll happily return from that function. I don't have anything else to do, right? So even if I go ahead with this approach, see, now I'm going to run my code, right? Spider-Man. I should see Spider-Man is a superhero, right? Spider-Man is a superhero. Okay. That's what I'm seeing here also. And what is the other approach that we wanted to follow? So I'm not going to print anything inside of my function. I'm going to return. I'm simply going to return the value that I have calculated. Where will that particular value be used? But that value will be captured here, right? So let result is equal to this. That value will be captured here and printed, sorry, and printed here, right? So these are just the two different ways of handling a same value. Either you can print it here or here only, right? But what if you need this sentence in the main code, right? From where you have called the function. What if you need this particular value? What if you need the value that you are getting from this particular function? In that case, you will have to return it, right? You can't always print the result in the same function. Remember it. Returning some value from a function is a very, very, very widely used use case. Like it's a like very highly relevant point for you. Returning with a value from the function, right? So that is what we are doing here. So instead of directly printing it here, I'm just returning with this value and I choose to print it here. Just another possibility, right? Logically, you are going to see the same output. Just the way of doing that has changed. And in fact, the whole discussion on function was around this. You are not going to learn any new theory as such, but it's just that how the things are getting placed. That is what you're going to learn, right? So even if I run this code, this is also going to work, obviously, right? And guys, is it now getting? Let me just check the poll results because I like before I say anything else. Yeah, seems fine from the poll results, but yeah, there are 5 people who are having a doubt, and 5 is also not a very. I mean, it's a high number, right? So I can only request the people who have the doubt to ask me what their doubt is. Otherwise, like judging from your behavior in the previous classes, what's going to happen is you are just going to drop out without knowing what the problem was or without knowing what the concept was, and that's exactly what's going to happen. But at the same time, I can't explain like the whole thing that we discussed in yesterday's class in today's class as well. For that, you will have to watch the recordings, right? That's why we offer the recordings, because we can't keep repeating the same things, right? Neelam, like not understanding the language, as in, I mean, uh, like, can you ask, like, where exactly are you facing the issue? I'm getting your point, but at the same time, I can 100% guarantee you, tell it in simple English. Acha. So there are two possibilities, right? Now, I'm explaining it for Neelam, but it's valid for everyone, right? So giving it one last attempt, but still, okay. What I'm doing right now is absolutely wrong. I should not be doing this because I'm doing right now is spoiling you guys. Okay. Because I have taught it yesterday. You should be watching the recordings. Okay. But because someone has asked it in front of me, I just cannot move on now. I just cannot move forward. Okay. So just explaining it for the sake of it, right? If you don't know what functions are, I am sorry. I am literally not going to explain that again. But if you know what functions are, let me go on. Right. So yesterday we saw what functions are. Now, inside of functions, we will do certain processing. We will do certain logical processing. Okay. And then what's going to happen? After we are done with that, what we can do is either we can print the result inside that function, right? So this is one thing that I can do. Let's forget everything else. Forget everything else that I have said. Ignore everything, right? Okay. So what is happening here? I am I have made this function, right? This is my function. Now, what am I doing here? I am calling my function. I'm calling the function. What happens when you call the function? The function starts getting executed. The function start its execution. Okay. It is actually run when you call a function, right? Till then, unless you call a function, it is just present there. It is not going to get executed. Okay. Acha. Now, if I go inside of this function, what is written there? Sentence is equal to name plus is a superhero. So all of you know what will be the result of it, right? I am not going to explain it further. If you pass Sita here, you will get Sita is a superhero. If you pass Rashmita here, you will get Rashmita is a superhero, right? That's what's going to happen. Okay. Now, that whole thing is going to be contained inside the sentence variable. So if I choose to console.log my sentence here, what will happen? That simple sentence, let's say the name variable contains Lakshman, right? So what do I get? What will I get here? Lakshman is a superhero, will be stored inside sentence. And when I log that, when I do console.log, what is going to happen? Lakshman is a superhero is going to get printed, right? Let me just demonstrate that, right? Let's just run our code. So what's happening? I am printing my output inside the function only, right? This is one possibility. You can see it. Lakshman is a superhero, right? You can see it because I have called the function. Because I have called the function. If I don't call the function, you will not see this also. Because if you don't call the function, this code will never get executed. So you see, the code was executed, but like the code was run, but you did not see anything on the screen because this function was never called. Anyways, that's not the point for today's discussion. We have already discussed it yesterday. Acha. What is the other possibility? This function that I have created here, modify name, it just ends its execution, right? You execute every line inside of that. Then you reach the end of the function. And then you say, okay, we have executed everything inside the function. Let's go back. Let's go back to the place from where the function was called. Because this function execution is over, let us check the other lines and let's just move on. Let's do other things, right? Let's see what is written after this line and execute those lines, right? So let's look at the remaining program. So you go back to the place from where the function was called, and then you go to the next line. You just keep executing the program further, right? That is what happens. Now, what is the other possibility? I just don't want to return empty-handed, right? I don't want to return from this function without any value. This time, what I want to do is instead of printing it here, instead of printing my sentence here, what I want to do is I want to return my sentence. So I want to return my sentence. How, like, what is that going to do? Return sentence. What is going to happen as a result of this? Now I am returning with some value. I am not returning empty-handed. So now when this function will be executed, it will just throw an output, right? It will give you an output, right? And what will happen? If it will give you an output, you will have to catch that output inside of a variable. You will have to store that output inside of a variable to use it properly, to use it later on, right? So what you can do is let result is equal to this. So now what will happen as a result? This function is getting called. Same story. You will get inside. You will execute the whole thing. You know what happens because of this line. Now, instead of printing it, you are returning the sentence. What does it mean? Now, the place from where the function was called, this particular value will be received there, right? This particular value sentence will be received here, right? So this sentence will be received, and what is happening? That received value will be stored in this variable, right? That value will be received here. So what will I print here? Sorry. What will I print here? Result contains the value that was returned from my function, right? So result contains the value that was returned from my function, right? And now what do I need to do? Console.log, sorry, result. So the only difference in this approach is instead of printing it inside my function, I returned with that value. Where do I return? I return to the place from where the function was called. And now I have returned with a value, the value of my answer, right? The value of the sentence that I wanted to print, right? And now I'm storing it here. In the next line, I'm just showing that as the output, right? So this will also produce the same result as before. Okay. The only thing that has changed is the way in which we have written the function. Instead of just printing it out here, we have returned that value, right? That's what the return statement means, right? If you want to give some output from the function, if you want to pass some value back from the function, you use the return statement. And in front of that return statement, you write the value that you want to return, right? You write the value that you want to carry with yourself when you go back from this function, right? And what can you do with that value that you are returning from the function? Anything that you want, right? If you return with a value, or if you give output from a function, give some value as the output of the function, you can use that value in any way that you want. In our case, the use case is very simple. We just want to print it, but you can do a lot of further calculations as well. So maybe you take some value, you pass it into function one, You get the output from function one, you pass this output maybe to another function to get some other output. So these kind of things you can keep doing. But the point is, you can use the value that is being returned from the function in any way that you see fit, right? So in our case, the only difference is earlier I was printing it here. This time I have returned it and I am printing it here. That is the only difference here. Let's just try to see what happens when we submit it. And now I'm launching the poll one more time, right? For the same thing, right? Launching the poll for the same question, for the same explanation, right? Uh, yeah, just let me know if it's clear. Although I checked the poll results, it was like near the end, more of you got it, but still, I'm just launching it again. Yes, Rashmita is a superheroine. Yeah, that is a correction. How can we call a function? Shravan, please watch the recording. I really I can tell you in 1 second, but I won't tell you. Okay. Like please make some efforts from your side. So now that we are on this discussion, and now that I am a little bit angry as well, let me just tell you one thing. In this is just a 10-day boot camp, right? Its only intention is to teach you the basics of programming. Later on, you will join the main course. There, the intention will be to make you job ready. If you want, if you really want, if you're really even thinking of becoming job ready, you will have to put in efforts, guys. Okay. So this is not the way that is going to work out for you if you choose to join the main course, right? If something has happened in the previous lecture, if you genuinely have a doubt, so this is not a genuine doubt, right? How to call a function is not a genuine doubt. That is the only thing that we have discussed yesterday. So I just cannot digest the fact that it is a genuine doubt. Okay. If it is, you can reach out to me later and I can clear it out for you, right? But the moral of the story, the point that I'm coming to is, you really cannot succeed with this kind of attitude that you join some classes, you miss some classes, and then in the next class, you are coming and asking the basic questions from the concept that was taught yesterday. This kind of behavior, I'm telling you right away because you have not joined yet, and it's your call to make whether you want to join or not. But I'm telling you right away, this kind of behavior is not going to get you a job anywhere, right? Our job here, I mean, like the intention of the main course is to prepare you for all kind of jobs, right? Whether it's a 5 lakh job or it's a 50 lakh job, right? The intention of the main course is to make you skilled enough so that you can get any kind of job, any job of your dreams, any job of your capabilities, right? If you want to do that, if you want to get any kind of job, you will have to drop this attitude. Ki, theek hai, I'll join one class, I'll miss the other class, and then magically something is going to happen. You are not coming here to pass your time. Just remember this. You are not class 7 students, you are not class 3rd students, you are not class 12 students, in fact. You are, I have told this to you in the beginning of the bootcamp as well. You are 22, 23, 24-year-old adults. The only difference between me and you is I know coding, you don't know it, right? It's not like I'm very old, I'm way older than you, and you are just like you're not kids. That's what I'm saying. Your attitude should reflect that, right? If you have missed a lecture, go and watch the recording, then come to the next lecture, right? So I mean, this is the bare minimum requirement that I have from you guys, right? So if you think that some kind of magic is happening and by the end of the course you will magically land a job, let me tell you right away, that is not how the real world works. You want a job, you will get a job, but you will have to work hard for it. I am having this job because I worked hard for it. Did someone like just give it to me? Did someone just hand it over to me? No. Hundreds of people, hundreds of other people would also have applied for the same job. I got the one because I had the skills, right? I'm still having this job because I have the skills and I'm delivering every day, right? Just come out of the bubble that you are living in. कि ठीक है जॉब ही तो है लग जाएगी. No, it, it is a very easy process. We will make it easy for you, but if you are not ready to put in hard work, don't waste your time or money or efforts or our time or money or efforts, right? So be very realistic. I don't want anything bad for any of you. But at the same time, I also want you to know the reality. If you are serious enough, we will get you the best job this country has ever seen, right? If you are serious enough, we have that level of curricular expertise, best quality instructors, every kind of support that you need. तुम अंदर आओ, तुम्हें सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपर बना के बाहर निकालेंगे. बट इफ यू आर नॉट रेडी टू वर्क हार्ड, तुम जैसे अंदर आए हो वैसे ही बाहर निकलोगे, राइट? दिस इज द रियलिटी. This is an institute. This is a like very good, very high quality course that we are providing you with. Okay. And magic is not happening here, right? Magic happens to those who are ready to work hard enough, right? If you think that you will just come, sit, and everything will happen automatically, no. No one will do it for you. People might claim it as a marketing stunt, right? कि ठीक है आ जाओ, we will teach you coding in 9 days. Those things are not real. You want to come here, you will have to dedicate some time every day, each day, some dedicated amount of time for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, as long as it takes. Because this is the real world that we are talking about. You will not get a job just because you want one. But if you are ready to work hard enough, you will get a job in minimum amount of time, right? So I don't really like talking in this way to my students, but at the same time, this is important as well. Because if I really want the best for you, I will have to show you the mirror in some regular interval of time. Be more serious. And I know that you are serious, guys, because it's 8:55. Almost an hour has passed since our class has started, and you are still in the class. That shows that you are serious. But please, if there is even 1% of casual attitude left in you, just shake that off, right? And just take charge of your future and present. 22 साल के हो गए हो यार. You're 22-year-old, 23-year-old, right? You don't want to do coding. That is an entire thing altogether. मत करो. There are a lot of other things. Go become a data analyst, right? Go become a dancer. Go, maybe if you really want to become an HR, just become an HR. But if you think that you want to become a coder, a software developer, that is not going to happen magically. You will have to put in efforts, and you will have to give it what it takes. Yeah. It's not magic. You will have to put in efforts, and you will see real results, right? I have seen it happen. I've seen it happening for hundreds of my students, and I'm not kidding. Hundreds of my students. And just to paint a picture in front of your mind, you're really concerned about placements and the placement numbers and salary and all these things, right? The first two batches that I taught with AccioJob, and this data is like 2 years old, right? The first two batches that I taught, I'm only talking about two batches here, not the thousands of students that I have taught over time. Two batches. So I took 6 months, taught two batches, and the salary, I'm talking about the annual salary here, not the monthly salary. So if I combine the sum of all the salaries that people got, it was 5 CR, 5 crore rupees. So there were roughly 120 students, or maybe let's say 150 students for the sake of it, right? And if I just combine, if I add up the salary of all of them, it was more than 5 crore, right? So we have everything. People like you are coming, people like you are taking advantage. The only difference is in the attitude, right? If they're coming here, they're coming with a serious attitude, they are working hard enough. But I don't know what has happened these days, right? And even when I'm taking free classes, people are not joining, people are having casual attitude. Kaise chalega yaar aise? If there is a 10-day program, that is for 10 days for a reason. It's not like you can join in between and just ask your doubts from anywhere, right? So I'll just stop now, but I hope you get my point. And just let me know in the chat. I mean, like, I hope it wasn't too harsh on you, but I really don't want to, like, I don't want to scold you. I just want to tell you the reality, right? Things are not tough. Things are not tough at all. But if you think that you will just sit hand over your hand, and you will just keep waiting and one day job will come to you, no, that's not going to happen at all. That doesn't happen to anyone in this whole world. right? You want a job, you will have to get it. You want to keep that job, you will have to work on that job, right? So the struggle doesn't end. People who told you that just get good marks in 10th and be done with it, life is good after that, they were all liars. Your struggle of life will not end, and till the day, or I mean, the struggle is not going to end till you take your last breath. Okay, the struggle is only going to end the day you die. That is the reality of life. Okay, so if you want a job, if you want everything good to happen to you, you will have to give the input for that to happen, right? Hard work, sincerity, these are the inputs. Okay, and rest everything AccioJob will take care of, right? We have done it for 1,000 of students. You are no different. You don't even have an idea of the kind of people that we have taken in and the kind of jobs that those students have gotten, right? गांव से है, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी नहीं है घर पे, छत नहीं है, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी छोड़ो, right? They don't have a roof on the top of their heads, right? People from villages, people not having, you're talking about internet connectivity, people not having electricity supply, going to their friend's house, going to like taking some like borrowing money from their friends or relatives, going to some city nearby, taking a laptop from a friend, studying like that. क्या कर रहे हो तुम लोग? ये सब हो रहा है जिंदगी में, ये सब हो रहा है दुनिया में। अब तुम लोग आके पूछ रहे हो फंक्शन कॉल कैसे करेंगे? मतलब पूछ सकते हो, एंड आई हैव ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू, I don't have any problem if you ask something from me 100 times. I'll explain it 100 times. But थोड़ा एफर्ट तो तुम्हारे साइड से भी दिखना चाहिए ना यार। मतलब that's all I'm saying, right? बाकी तो ठीक है, it's all fine. Moral of the story is, I only want the best for all of you. And whether you join this course or you don't join this course, you're all my students, right? And whatever I've said today is what I genuinely feel, right? It's not like I'm trying to sway you or something. और मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ, मैं तो मेहनत करने को बोल रहा हूँ ना, तो इसमें कोई मेरा फायदा तो हो नहीं जाएगा, तुम लोग मेहनत कर लोगे तो। आई एम जस्ट ट्राइंग टू टेल यू दैट results won't come until you commit to work hard enough, right? Be it AccioJob, or let's say you go and think of becoming a dancer tomorrow, there also, right? So this is the truth of life. You will have to work hard, right? Obviously, you will start working smart also. Working smart is also good, but that's not for beginners. To be able to start working smart, you should at least know what you have to work on. And to do that, you will have to work hard first, right? So working hard and being ready to work hard is the key to everything. And just tell me if I'm wrong, right? Just tell me if you disagree with even a single thing that I've said tonight, right? बोल दो कि मैं गलत हूं, कि नहीं नहीं ऐसे लग जाती है जॉब, तो हमारे तो 3-4 है, नहीं है ना यार ऐसा। तो थोड़ा थोड़ा सीरियस हो जाओ लाइफ को लेकर। और मतलब चाहे जो मर्जी करो, मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि कोडिंग ही करो सब लोग। आई एम नॉट आस्किंग ऑल ऑफ यू टू गो हेड एंड कोड, नो। वट एवर यू डू इन लाइफ, you become a gardener tomorrow, but be serious, take charge of your life. We have taken a lot of things from our parents, it's our time to pay them back. Okay, so whether you join AccioJob and become skilled enough in a very timely manner and get a job, that is one approach. You want to do it on your own, do it on your own, but the point is take charge of your present and your future, right? So, and this kind of casual approach will not work in life, will not work in this phase of life at least, right? This is our time, and not only talking about you. I'm also 24, right? You might be 22, 23, 24. I'm also 24. I'm talking about all the 33 people, including me. This is our time to work hard so that we can enjoy later. अब मैं enjoy कैसे बोल रहा हूँ? अभी तो आपने बोला कि the struggle won't end till you die. Yes, it won't. But at least we will be in a better position as compared to the rest of the country, right? Only 2-3% of the people pay tax. Do you want to come in those 2-3% people or not? That's the question. If you genuinely want to, start working and stop this whole like casual attitude that you are having. Start taking charge of your steps, right? Okay, cool then. So I won't tell you how the function is called, right? I just simply won't tell you. I can do it in 1 second, but I won't do that, right? You don't know how to call a function, watch yesterday's recording, right? Then if you don't understand, I will tell you 100 times how to call a function. But it's not possible that you watch the recording and you don't understand that, right? The only reason you are asking it in today's class is because you don't want to watch the recording, and that's, I'm not going to allow it now. Because what we have had 5 6 classes together, I have given you enough liberty. I always tell you whatever you ask, but you will also have to work hard in some way or the other, right? I can't keep telling you everything every time, because as a software developer you will have to, it's your job to figure things out, right? I'm not expecting that from you because you are not software developers, you want to become one. So I'm helping you at every step. But मेहनत तो एक ऐसी चीज है ना जो आप कर सकते हो irrespective of how much coding you know, right? Anyways, enough enough everything. I can just I saw the poll results. 94% of you are clear. 2 3 people are not clear, but yeah, I think now we will have to move on anyways. And yeah, let me just continue the discussion for taking user input in JavaScript, right? So in the codes that we have seen so far, we have been taking user input, right? I just told you that I will not tell you how to take user input until we reach enough maturity. And I guess now is the time that I can share with you how to take user input in JavaScript. Okay. So even today, when I will tell you how to take user input in JS, in JavaScript, I won't tell you the whole thing, right? Because if we go ahead and start analyzing each and every line. So the thing is, JavaScript is actually, a very feature-rich language. JavaScript offers us a lot of functionalities, right? So some of those functionalities can actually become very confusing for us at this particular stage, right? So to get the 100% clarity of how this user input thing is actually working, we are not really going to do that in today's class, right? So what we're going to focus on is limited understanding of what is really needed for us, right? Of what is really needed for us at this particular stage. We are only and only going to focus on that, right? And then as and when we go further, right? As and when we, let's say tomorrow we will study arrays and 2D arrays, right? They're also taking user input is not going to be a priority as such. But as and when we go ahead and see different cases, we will talk about them there. Okay, okay. Today I will teach you how to take one input. Tomorrow, if we need to take 2 3 inputs, I will show you that as well, right? But if we need to do all these things, we will just discuss it step by step, right? So as and when we need, we will keep discussing the different ways of taking inputs, right? So to take one input, it's very easy. To take 3 inputs, there might be, some other angles that we need to consider. So we will keep considering it question by question, right? We are not going to study everything as a part of the theory, right? But if we if we just talk about the basics here, if we just talk about how can we start taking user input in JavaScript, let me just show you how, right? And there is some set of code that you will always have to use, right? Because uh, I'll tell you why. Acha. So what happens in any language is there is a concept of modules, libraries, right? So basically, in any programming language, the concept of library basically is some pre-written set of code, right? It is a pre-written code uh, that has already been written by the developers of the language. So the language that we are using, JavaScript, there is some human being that has developed this language, right? Not one human being, a group of human beings, right? So what they realize is over time, the people who create these languages, they realize that this is a very important thing. I should I should just write some code already and hand the user. We are the users of JavaScript, right? Me, all of you, we are the users of JavaScript, right? So what we should do is we should just write some code and hand it over to the people who are using this particular language, right? So where do they write that code? They write that code and they present it or they keep it inside of libraries, right? So there are different libraries that each of the programming language offers. So which is basically nothing but pre-written code that you can just pick and start using. Okay. In the same way, in case of JavaScript, we use something called as read line, right? Read line is basically, you can say it's a module, it's a library which offers us a lot of functionalities on taking user input, right? And we are going to see step by step, we are going to see how we can include read line in our code and start taking user input. right? So if you have observed the code so far, right? Can you see this portion? Can you see this portion in each of the code that we have seen so far? Each of the code that we have seen, right? So const readline is equal to require readline, right? This is the line. Let me just do one thing, right? Let me just place it over there. Yeah. So basically, you can just divide this whole thing into two parts, right? First is the require readline part, and second is all this thing that is happening, this whole process, right? So what we can see here is these are the set of lines that we will always use when we want to take a user input, right? For now, you are going to like listen something from my mouth for the first time. I don't generally say it for programming, but these are the lines that you will have to just take for now, right? But you will have to assume that yes, it works in the way that sir is telling us, right? Why do you have to assume that? Why will I not share the whole logic with you? Because if I go ahead and start sharing the whole logic with you, it will become confusing, right? And it's not such an important topic that I confuse you in order to teach this to you, right? So that's why let's just take some things as they are, right? So what you are going to see here is two portions, right? First is this and other is this, right? So what do we have here? Const readline is equal to require readline, right? This is a variable name. So you can keep anything that you want here, right? You want to use readline, you can use readline. You want to write Kalu, you can write Kalu, right? That is entirely up to you. But to keep it more meaningful and easy to use, we generally keep it as readline. Okay, okay, let's just call it readline. Okay, so readline is equal to require readline. So when you use the keyword require, it basically means, and don't worry about all these definitions. You will get all these definitions. I will provide all of this to you, right? Require is the keyword that we use when we want to import something in our code, right? That okay, readline, right? The library of readline, the code that is present inside of readline, right? That is already written in JavaScript. But what we want to do is we want to use it in our program as well. So what this line is doing all over is this line tells the program that I also want to use readline in my program, right? I also want to use readline in my current program, the program that I'm executing, right? So let's just import that, right? So this one imports readline in your program. So you can use it, right? So that you can start using it, okay, in your particular file, in your particular program. Then what does this particular set of code do? Okay, I am only going to share the basics, right? So first of all, oh, let's use another color. So what do these set of lines do? Let's just try to read it and you know, try to gain as much insight as we can, right? Try to make it as meaningful as we can. Okay. But again, no need to get emotional about this particular topic, right? We only need to get familiar with it so that if someone asks us tomorrow, like how do you take input in JavaScript, we can answer them. But it's not really that hard and fast, right? We don't need to stress too much about this particular topic, right? As and when we go further in JavaScript, we will explore this angle as well, but it's not very important to understand each and every line at this point of time, right? So as you have seen, all the other things are already clear to us 100%, whatever we have seen so far. But if this is one topic which requires the information of other topics also, so let's just only understand to the extent to which it is easily possible. Let's not stress too much about it, right? So const RL, again, you know what const is, you know what RL is, right? It is being imported as a const, by the way, as a const because you really don't need to change it, right? You are just using this particular variable to refer to the code that has already been written, right? This code is already present. So we are not going to change that code. We just want to use that. And to use that, we are just declaring it as a const, right? Fair enough. And then again, a const because it's not like we want to change this whole thing. We want to change the like code in the read line or change the implementation in any way. We just want to use it. We just want to use whatever is being provided to us ready-made, right? That's why it is fairly logical of why we are declaring it as a const, right? So const RL, I think this one is fairly simple to guess. This is also a variable name. You can name it anything that you want, right? And then what? Readline.create interface. Readline is basically not any random variable name. The variable name that you will give here. The variable name that you will give here, right? So this thing dot create interface, right? So I'm not going to discuss what this create interface is, but let's just discuss the other segment, input and output, right? So you can see some kind of options are being provided for input this, for output this, something like that, some picture like that would be getting formulated, and that is exactly what is written here, right? So process, whenever a JavaScript code is, JavaScript environment is built, right? Process contains all the information regarding that particular, you can say, regarding that particular environment that you are having, right? So process contains all the information. And when you are saying std in, don't worry, all of this is purely theoretical. All of this is boring for me also, and I will share all this information with you, right? So as far as the relevant theory is concerned, you will get everything in the notes, right? I'll share it with you after the class. But let's just only focus on the logical aspect, the one that we can truly understand, right? What do we see? std in, right? Which is the standard input, which is in our case, what is std in? This console, right? This console, right? This is where we will give the input. This is where the input will be read from. यहाँ से input को read किया जाएगा, right? And then std out, I think as you can already guess, where do I want to show the output? So this is where we want to show the output. So this is the standard output, right? So std in, standard input, standard output. So those things are being defined here, right? So everything that is being done with the help of these lines is a part of the standard procedure that we will always have to follow when we need to take user input from, user input in JavaScript, right? So this is the standard code. You will always be writing this whole code, right? Then what will you do? So now you have created RL. So there is a functionality RL dot, I'm calling it RL because I have used RL here, dot on, right? RL dot on. And how will you write it? How will you write it? Again, I am only going to teach you the aspects that you can understand. Rest everything we are just going to consider as and when we go ahead, right? RL dot on, then you will use line here. I will tell you why we are using this line here. And then whatever is the variable, whatever is the name of the variable, where you want to store the user input. And then what you're going to do is something like this, okay? And inside of that, you can write whatever you want to write. Now, let me tell you only the basics of what this particular thing means. And then we will go ahead and start taking user inputs. But then again, let us not take any stress about any of these exercises, because taking user input in Java is a very basic operation, but in JavaScript is a very complex operation, right? So that's why we don't really need to spend too much time on it, and we don't really need to get too much emotional about it. We just have to understand what are the different ways in which we can take user input, so that if needed, we can take it on our own, right? But this is not really a very important concern, because as I was telling you in the beginning of today's class, driver code is always given to you. So taking user input, showing the output, all these things are handled for you in most of the cases, right? In 99% of the cases. But still, for that 1%, we are just preparing ourselves. And at the same time, this, it's not really important for a beginner to understand. That's why I'm a little bit against teaching this topic in the boot camp, because you're all beginners and I don't really want you to get scared, and you can't really understand each and every aspect because it requires a lot of other information also. But still, right, I'm going to try to make it as easy for you as I can, right? So if I just go here, if you just see this, right, you can see the similar syntax that I have written, right? RL dot on, then you can see line, and then whatever is the name of the variable that you have, and then this arrow, and then this thing, right? So what exactly is happening here? Let me just show that to you. Let me just share that with you. Okay. So what this line thing basically means is, so input will be taken for each time the user presses enter. Input will be taken for each time the user presses enter, right? So what do I basically mean by that? For for it to work, for this to work correctly, what you will have to do is you will have to give it the input and press enter, right? Or what is the other scenario in which it will work? That you give it some input and that's all. So if you just end it like that, it assumes that you have pressed an enter, or it works in that case also, right? So it works either when you press an enter or when the when the input statement ends. Okay, so let's just see what I mean by this. Okay, so rl dot on line, and then whatever is the name of the variable that you want to give as the input, right? So let's just keep it this way and let's just continue it here only, right? This is not what we need. This is something that we will always require, so I'm not going to remove it as such, right? But just to show you one more thing, right? Just a second, right? And this is what I've told you. This is the taking user input part. What am I doing here? rl dot on, then you have line, and then name, and then this thing, right? So I will tell you what this particular arrow means, and I will tell you what it means in this particular context, but only till a limited point, only to the point that you can understand it, right? Now what? Now the input will be taken, and you can do anything that you want with that input. Let's do a very basic thing. And actually we have been doing all these operations all this while, right? ये सब हम लोग already कर रहे हैं, right? It's just that we never discussed it before, right? So today the only thing I'm interested in doing is in discussing it, right? In acknowledging that this all was happening behind the scenes for all the previous classes, right? And that is all that we need to understand. For JavaScript, we are not going to spend too much time or too much effort on understanding the user input part, because completely understanding it will require knowledge of the other concepts also, which come in the later part of the course, which come in the like when we actually start studying JavaScript. This is only the basics, so it's not too much relevant. So let's just print that name, right? And let's see what happens if I just yeah run it for this input, right? Yes, Ramchandu, that's exactly what it is, right? ना Muzammil, typing speed though, once you start practicing how to code, your typing speed will already like anyways increase, right? So for example, when we text on WhatsApp, we have a good typing speed there, right? Because like naturally we have developed that over time, because we send so many texts to our friends, right? Similarly, when you start practicing the coding part, it will automatically increase, right? So for me also, I don't have a very high typing speed, but I mean that's not a concern at all, right? Thinking speed is what is taken into account in interviews and everything, right? So what do we do here, right? All this code is always going to be written no matter what. And then what are you going to do? rl dot on, then you have this particular you can say this particular value that you have to pass, right? Line basically tells that take the input for each time the line is pressed or the enter is pressed, right? And then what do you do? This is the parameter name, this is the variable name that you define, that this should be the name of the input that I'm taking. And just as a sample, what we are doing here is we are just printing out Lakshman. That's all that we are doing here, right? That's all we are doing here. Okay, and now I want to let's just go to that particular section and start solving some questions, right? uh, 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 yeah, let's solve this one for example. Okay, cool. So it's a very simple question, right? It's a very basic question, and we have already seen the theory that we need to solve it, right? We're just solving it formally in today's class, right? So what does this question say? Mathematical operations. We need to perform mathematical operations, right? So you're given two positive integers. The input is already handled for you, by the way, right? The input is already handled, and you have to calculate the result of performing addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and modulo operations on them. So you have two numbers and you have to perform these operations on them. And then is there anything else? The first line of the input contains two space separated integers a and b, right? Two space separated integers a and b. So yeah, These are the two inputs. Let's see how it is being handled, right? So again, all of this thing will become more relevant once we see the other concepts as well, right? For example, today we don't even know what arrays are. Today we also don't know like what are these different functionalities. But I'm going to tell you these functionalities one by one. It's just that if you just check out this one line has, you know, two functionalities that are being used. One is split and the other one is map. Okay, so we will discuss it once we get to know about the other concepts, primarily array, right? And then we are going to discuss, if time permits, we are going to discuss what each of these words mean, right? So split, what split basically does is, if you can see, split on the basis of what? There is a space provided here. So what does it mean? Roughly, if you just try to hit and try here, right? No need to understand it completely. If you just use hit and try, what does it mean? Split the line, right? Split the line. If you can see here, the input that is being taken is the line, right? The input that is being taken is the line. So let me do one thing for you. Uh, let me do one thing. This would make the picture more clear to you, right? Let me give two space separated integers as the input. What did I tell you so far? So far, what have I told you? If we take user input like this, what are the two things that we write? First, we write the line like this, so that this particular line tells the computer that what do we want to do? We want to take the user input for each time the enter is pressed, or the whole thing ends, right? Or you just like finish the whole input line. Okay. So if we see this particular input 8 space 3, right? So we see two numbers 8 and 3, right? And then we don't see anything. So this whole thing will be interpreted as a line. Makes sense? Now, where will this line be stored? In the variable that you are mentioning here, right? If what I'm saying is correct, what should we get here? What should we get in the console.log part? 8 space 3. Let's see if that happens or not, right? So if I just run this code, 8 space 3, right? Now what is happening? This part has been taken. This input has been taken. Now what is being done here? Line is being split on the space, right? So line, which is 8 space 3. So it's a string input only, right? It's being treated as a string as of now, right? It's being treated as something like this. Let me show you. 8 space 3. And when you split a string, what happens is, splitting basically means breaking into parts, right? Split, I'm just telling you the literal meaning, the English meaning, right? Split means breaking into parts. And same is the case for JavaScript as well, right? If you are using the split function, what's going to happen is, the input, right? The input on which you are applying the split function is going to be broken into different parts. On what? On the condition that you specify here. So if you just read this particular part, line dot split, and then on what? On the space. So what is going to happen? The line is going to be split into two integers 8 and 3, because this is the only space that is separating them, right? Like space is separating them. So if you just split them, what's going to be remaining? 8 and 3 separately. 8 and 3 separately. And as a result, what do we see? After it is being split, they are being mapped here, right? They are being, so map is a different functionality altogether. And if I just go ahead and explain that, that would distract us from the main focus, that is understanding how the user input works. So let's just stay focused for tonight and just get a basic understanding of what is happening here, right? So the first thing that we have to understand is, the input was taken for the whole line, and now we have something as 8 space 3, which is meaningless for us. We just can't use it. So that is being split across the space. So we get 8 and 3 separately, and we can just store it in our variables. To prove to you that it works, what we can simply do is, like a very basic thing that all of us can do. If we ever want to verify whether something has worked in the way that we wanted or not, always use console.log. Always and always use console.log, right? So console.log A, console.log b. What is it that we are going to get? If what we are saying is true, we will get the correct values in A and B, right? So A should give us, I'm talking about the example that I have taken, A should give us 8 and B should give us 3. Let's see if that happens or not, right? Running the code again, right? Console.log, because I'm printing it in separate lines. These are getting printed in separate lines, but this is what I wanted to show you, right? So A and B are getting taken correctly, right? So the input is being taken correctly, right? And what we can also see here is, let's see if it works or not, right? So I'm just trying to tell you that now we will see for ourselves whether it is intuitive or not. Okay, it works for two numbers like this. Will it work for three numbers? Let's see for ourselves, right? Okay, and let's give a third number also, right? And let's just see if it works or not. Here we should get a 5. If what I'm saying is, okay, we got it, right? Here we should get a 5 and we do get a 5. So do you understand the reason of sharing this whole story with you? The point of sharing this whole story is, so these are the certain formats that you can use for now. Okay, you will not get the complete picture, because understanding the complete picture requires knowledge of a lot of other things. But what you can do is, based on the intuitive nature of this whole language and all these operations, you can at least make the changes, make the necessary changes, and at least extract the use case that is important for you, which is taking input for numbers which are space separated, taking input for numbers which are maybe separated by line. So these are the different things that I wanted to share with you. I think for tonight's class, I will have to make special notes because it was a lot of theory and it can be a little misleading and confusing also. If I especially talk about the user input part in JavaScript, so I'll make proper notes so that everything that we have discussed so far is available to you at one place in a proper formatted manner also, right? So that's one thing. Acha. Other than that, what can we do here? Let's just perform the question, which is basically the easier part. Taking and understanding the user input was the main thing here. But anyways, let me do one thing. Let me actually keep it so I can share it with you later. Just a second. Oh, sorry. This is for, anyways, right? Now let's get back to the point, right? The point of this question that we really wanted to solve. Acha, what do we want to do? We want to print out all these results, right? First is the addition, then the difference, then the product, then the quotient, which is basically the answer that you get on dividing two numbers, the remainder, right? So what do we want to do? We just want to print the result. So there can be two approaches, right? So I've shared both of them with you already. Either you can make a variable to store the value and then print it, or you can directly print the answer. So I will show both the approaches to you, right? So let sum is equal to a plus b. Let's just get rid of it. A plus b, right? Then let difference is equal to a minus b. Then let, what do we have? Multiplication, right? Product. When you multiply two numbers, the answer is called as the product, right? Product is equal to a into b. Sorry, a into b. Let quotient. So basically, quotient is when you divide a number a by b, the actual answer that you have. For example, 4 by 2 is what? 2. 6 by 2 is what? 3. So these are the answers, right? The actual answer that we get on division is the quotient. Acha. So what is the quotient here? Is equal to a divided by b. And then what is the remainder here? A modulo b. We have seen all these operations, right? I mean, can you at least tell me if this discussion is clear or not? Also, first let's just complete this question. I will take a poll for this question, answer that, and then I will take a separate poll for the whole user input thing, right? That we will handle separately. Let's just get done with it. So sorry, A modulo B. Okay. Now that we have calculated and stored all these things inside of the variables, we can just start logging them. We can just start printing them. Console.log sum difference product quotient remainder, everything we have to do. Let's just do it one by one. Uh, it's a good habit to use the semicolon, although it's not mandatory, but yeah, still. Okay. Difference, then you have product, then you have quotient, then you have the remainder. Okay. So you have printed everything out, right? I don't think there is any scope of doubt here, but still, let's just try to run it once and see whether it works or not. Not really needed. Let's run the code. You're complex to hair. It's like I also don't like this topic, especially for beginners, but that's why I just wanted to show you the basic things. Okay. Just a second. Let me tell you what happened and let me tell you how I rectified it. Okay. So let's see. If I remove this whole thing, if I get rid of it, let's see what's happening here, right? If I run my code again, so basically the input that I'm taking is 8 and 3. So if I calculate the answer manually, right? What are the answers? 8 plus 3, 11. Check, check. 8 minus 3, 5. Check. 8 into 3, 24. Check. 8 by 3. So what is 8 by 3? 8 by 3 is actually equal to 2 point something something. I know it's 2.66, but yeah, 2.66666666. That's what 8 by 3 is going to be, right? But in case of programming, most of the times we treat the quotient and the remainder separately, right? I mean, most of the times, yeah, quotient and remainder are two separate things only. But when we are calculating the result of any division, we are we might be interested in the decimal points or we might not be interested in the decimal points. So what I'm trying to say is 8 by 3, here you can see 8 by 3 is mentioned as 2, right? That is because it is only considering the integer part here, right? The main part of this answer, right? So to achieve this kind of an output in JavaScript, we have a function called as math.floor. But before I go ahead and blindly use it, let me tell you what it does, right? So if you have a number like 3.4 and you put it inside the math.floor function, so what it is going to do is it's going to consider the integer part and it's going to give the output to you as 3, right? Math.floor. So that is the logic. Okay, why is it called as floor? Because if you see 3.4, it is stuck between two integers, 3 and 4, right? What does dot floor mean here? Dot floor basically says that 3.4, right? When you're doing a dot floor on 3.4, it is giving you the floor value, right? So this is the floor, this is the roof for 3.4. That's why it is called as the math dot floor. Now I'm giving you a homework, a very basic and interesting one. You have to tell me, just like we have a math dot floor, do we have something called as math dot roof also? Or do we have something similar? Do we have something or not? Right? So if I have 3.4, can I make 4 out of it or not? That is my question to you. So tomorrow you will tell me in JavaScript, can I use something like math.roof Is there something like that present? So tomorrow you are going to tell that to me. Okay. Anyways, sorry. Moral of the story here is you can see the answer as 2.66666666 and then some, because obviously computers have a limit. It can't keep writing that unlimited number of times. So it's approximating it at the end. But the point is you're getting the answer as 2.666, the exact answer. You don't want that. You can see the expected answer is 2 here. So you only want what? You only want the integer part of it. So how will you do that? Math.floor. Okay, we will see it. But yeah, as far as the remainder is concerned, that is also given out to us properly. So only the quotient is making a problem. Only the division operation is making a problem. So let's just get rid of that. What we will do? We will use math.floor function and we will put a by b inside of that. So math.floor, right? So I am saying that we will use this function, right? Why is it a function? Because it's doing a particular job. This is an inbuilt function. Inbuilt function. What is an inbuilt function? The function that is provided to us free of cost by the language, right? Which is already present in the language. We just have to come and use it, right? So that's why math.floor is a function that is already present. We just have to come and start using it, right? So math.floor a by b. That's all we have to consider. Okay. So quotient is equal to math.floor a by b. That's all. Now, if I just run the output, run the code once again, you will see I am going to get the correct answer here. See, 11, 5, 24, 2. This is the 2 that we have rectified, that we have, done properly, and then 2. Now, if I go ahead and try to submit it, let's see if it gets submitted or do we face any error. Brother, I'll have to see that. The reason why JavaScript is not available on YouTube is because we are doing it for the first time right now, right? Anonymous attendee, I hope you are still in the class because I just saw your question in Q&A. Okay. Anyways, it got accepted, but that's not the main point. The aspects that we have seen in this question is, first of all, I just try to tell you how the user input is being handled in a very rough manner. We don't want to get into the details of user input, just get it very clear, right? There are certain aspects that we will just see how it happens and we will just keep replicating it until we learn enough concepts that we can start breaking it line by line and understanding each and everything that is happening here, right? A lot of advanced concepts are also being used here. So I'm really not going to even try to explain the whole thing to you. But I also want you, like, I don't want you to be, unaware of everything, right? That's why I just gave you a basic insight as to how user input is being taken, right? So that's why, although today's class heading was taking user input in JavaScript, but I am only telling you the basics. I am only telling you what's always going to be there and how the things are working in a very broader level, right? In a very non-coding level, you can say. I am only explaining it and I'm only giving you, the basic operations that you will see, right? So leaving that part apart, in terms of the question, we learned math.floor. That is a new thing that we have learned here. So is the question clear to us? Is the explanation, the question that we have seen here clear to us? Just launching the poll once more. And now you guys can be free, right? We only have 17 people left. So when the class reaches the end, we know what happens, right? Only the sincere people are left now. If you have a doubt, feel free to ask it. I'll even unmute you, right? So if you have a doubt, feel free to say no, yes, whatever. If you want to ask me, you can raise your hand. I can just unmute you if you have a doubt, right? And as I was saying, there will come a day when the bootcamp will be half over and when we will have figured out the sincere students. That day, I can share my number with you as well. And I guess today is that day because even after that dosage that I gave you in between the lecture, you have stayed back. So let me just share my contact with you. This is exclusively for you. I will take a screenshot of every person present in the class as of now. And if I receive any additional message, I will I'll get to know that some of you has leaked my number. Please don't do that. I don't have a lot of time in my whole day, in my whole life, right? I'm very busy. I'm super busy. But for you guys, I can take out time, but not for anyone else. right? I'm not interested in helping people who don't want to help themselves, right? So my time is not for free. I charge money for teaching you, right? So this is my profession, right? I mean, so like logically speaking, I charge money for speaking to you, right? But for you guys, I am available always, today, tomorrow, next month. I'm always available, right? But please don't share this number with anyone, right? I might not be able to help the people who genuinely need it in that case, right? So please promise me that you will keep it to yourself. I am sharing it with all of you in the class. So you can, sorry, you can contact me here, right? We have nearly reached the end of our class. We'll just see one more question, and there also we will see one more aspect of how we can take the user input if it is present in different lines, right? That is also fairly straightforward, but that has the complexity of its own. So, matlab, that's also a mixed match case. But yeah, so the reason for sharing my number with you is, although I'm already available on LinkedIn, but I don't see any message coming in, and I can also understand that there is a friction, right? You go to LinkedIn and then you message, but I just needed some kind of filter. This is a perfect filter. People who have joined in consistently for 5 6 classes, I can see that they are more sincere as compared to someone else. And although I said in the beginning that the classes are free, still people are not joining. But I know the answer already. I know I said that, I posed that as a question, but I know the answer. The reason why people are not joining is because the classes are free. If I had charged some fees from all of you, so the attendance would be very high. Why? Because then they would think, ki, okay, we have paid for it. Let's just go and see what this guy is saying. Let's just go and listen to him. So that's what I have seen, right? That's why I've like in my college when I used to teach chemistry to like people from Pilani. I mean, I'm from Bits Pilani, right? So I used to teach chemistry to the people around, right? People, matlab students around 11, 12 students, and that was for free because that was for social service. And then I always used to have two, three people, but I made sure that at least those two, three people are able to receive the kind of knowledge that they're here for. But that's the only issue. If you keep education free, your value is rated, right? I mean, what just happened? So people take you for granted, right? That okay, this guy is teaching for free. इसी को कुछ मजबूरी होगी कि ये पढ़ा रहा है हमें, right? Something like that, some things like that happens. That's why it's very important to charge money for something that you are good at. Otherwise, people stop valuing you. Okay, and that's why I can see. Anyways, the moral of the story is, still you guys are staying back. That means you guys are sincere, right? For you, I am always available, right? Irrespective of what choice you make. Okay. Anyways, let's just solve one more question that I had planned for tonight. At least one more, and let's solve these MCQs also. Which class is commonly used to get user input? This is a Java specific question. Let's skip it. Which of the following statements is true about taking user input in programming? I think you can all solve it, right? I'm just checking that the programming MCQs are basic, right? How user input is typically stored for later use. Very easy for you. What method is used to get user input? Again, Java specific. Let's skip it. These are the questions that you can attempt later on, right? All questions. Let me just go to the one that I wanted to solve for you. There is one more format that I want to teach you. Yeah. Okay. So some kind of like some of the code is already given to us and some of the code we have to do. Okay. So let's just see. In this challenge, in this challenge, you must read three integers and then print them, right? So now in case of Java, it's very straightforward, right? I mean, whether the input is space separated or the input is present in different lines, you just have to do one thing and it will take care of all the cases, right? So in Java, that's fairly straightforward. But in case of JavaScript, as you have already seen, right, it just scans the whole thing that is present on the console, right? So whether the input is space separated or it is line separated actually creates a difference in case of JavaScript, right? So Let's just see why I'm taking up this question. I'm taking up this question for the special reason that the input is present in this format. The input here is present in three different lines. So what we have seen is, we have seen how to take user input if we have to, take one line. So what we have seen is read line is equal to, okay. So this thing has actually combined the two steps. What was I having earlier? Const read line is equal to require read line, right? This was the first line in our previous question, right? And they have just combined the two. Okay. So something like this we had in the previous question, right? So I think now it would be familiar enough. But yeah, you can combine the two steps as well, right? So require read line, you can write here also, right? You can write it here also. So you can do it like this as well, right? It's entirely up to you. Okay. And let's see it in this way also. This, let me just show it to you. This whole thing is same as writing this and then creating an interface later on, as two steps. This particular approach has combined the two steps that we were seeing earlier, right? What were those two steps? First of all, we were importing and then we were creating using this create interface function on top of that, right? Here we have combined the two steps. So let's just keep it that way. Okay. So now what we will be doing is read line dot on line. Let's just put it inside of a bracket to make it consistent, right? So this is going to do what? It's going to take up one input for you, right? It's going to take up one input for you. Let's call it A. Then what? Read line dot on. So you just have to keep writing it in a nested manner, one inside the other. That way it will keep taking input for each of the values in different lines, right? That is how it's going to happen. So once we're done with this, once we like declare this basic structure, what we will do is inside of it we will again call read line dot on, right? That is what we are going to do now. Okay, read line dot on, and then same thing, and then inside of that and then same thing inside of this. So till we reach here, we have now taken the input for A, B, and C for all these variables. And now what we want to do is, now that we have all of these variables, we want to log the values. That's what the question basically says, right? So there are three lines of input and, sorry, read three integers and then print them, right? So read three integers and then print them. So the question basically says, if the input is 4200, 125, the output should be 4200, 125. That's what the question says, right? So let's just print it one by one. Console.log A, right? Then console.log B and console.log C. B, C. Okay. What I wanted you to understand here is, again, I am also not really liking this discussion where I'm just teaching you teaching you everything, and I'm not able to explain each and everything why it is happening, right? But such is the nature of this particular topic. So let's just understand it and just understand it for the different cases that we have, right? So if the input is separated by different lines, this is how it's going to be, right? So 1, let's 12, 1, 4, right? Now if I run my code, the expected output is 12, 1, 4. Let's just, and that is the output that we get, right? So how you have to understand it is, so once you use one read line, once you use one particular read line, what is happening here is read line dot on. What is happening here is it handles what is going to happen if one enter is pressed. Think of it like that. Once you get inside of that, you want to handle the case for taking another input. Once you handle that, you want to handle another input, right? And let's say inside of this also, If you want to take one more input, you will have to do that as well, right? But here we are done. uh, as soon as we take three inputs, we are done. So what we are doing is we are just logging console.log a. That's all we are doing here, right? That's all that we are doing here. Now what? I mean, that was the question, right? So we can just go ahead, submit it. But again, the main point that I want to tell you after this whole discussion is over, right? You can just go ahead and let's say see some other questions also, right? Let's say this is also pretty straightforward, right? So if we just go to JS, okay. So what do we have to do here? What should we do? You are required to take input and finally print, hi, my name is agent, this thing. So how will you do that? It's not a function question really. It's just that a name is given to you and you have to print this string, right? So this is the question I am, you know, formally allotting you as homework, because this is something that you can do on your own, right? Given that we have seen all these things, like we have seen the related discussion, right? So you have a variable and you want to print it alongside a string. You know how to do that, right? A plus B. That is how you can combine the two strings and just print it in whichever way you want, right? Then what mathematical operators we have seen? Circle, area, perimeter. Let's discuss it once, and then if you want me to solve it, I'll solve it. Otherwise, I'll just put it on you. You are required to take the radius of a circle. So basically, we are done with the basic discussion on taking user input, right? And let me just take one poll on overall clarity of the topic. And again, I don't expect you to answer yes in today's class, right? But just tell me if the basic idea is clear, right? On what you have to do, right? There is one line which is responsible for importing and creating the setup for taking the user input, and then using the on, like using r1.on or using rl.on, you can actually start taking the user input. And then you mention the name of the parameter that you can use to store the input that user has given. That is the basic storyline here. I will need to provide you. So far the topics were straightforward and everything was logically relatable, but in today's class there was a lot of theory involved, so I will have to provide you good notes for today's class. I understand that, right? But apart from that, are you able to understand the basic idea of this whole concept? So just launching a poll here, right? And you can just let me know. Okay. And then we can discuss all these questions. If there is a good question, we can solve it together. If there are such easy questions, you can solve it on your own also, right? Okay. So if there is a basic understanding issue that you are having in this particular topic, कि यार बिल्कुल ही नहीं समझ में आया क्या ही हो रहा था, तब तो you can just ask it. But if it is clear at the surface level, then that is all I want from you, right? I only want surface level clarity for this topic, right? That is not something that I will say for any other topic that we are seeing. But for the user input in JavaScript, just let it be, right? Not really our concern right now. Not really something that we should be worried about. Okay, just ignore it for now. Oh, Chirag is also here. Good to see you, bro. So your Chirag sir has also joined, right? And we can hand it over to him whenever we want. Let's just use the next 3 minutes. Uh, guys, till then, just use the time to answer the poll, right? And just click on yes, submit, click on no, submit, whatever your choice is, so that I can peacefully exit the class, right? Until then, till the time you are answering the poll, let's just discuss what this question is, and then we can just hand it over to Chirag. So you're required to take the radius of a circle as input and finally print the area and the perimeter of the circle. Take pi as 3. Okay. So the radius is given to you, right? You have to take one integer input from the user. And what you have to do thereafter is print the area and the perimeter, right? Print the area and the perimeter of the circle. That's what you are supposed to do, right? So very simple question. Let's just switch to JavaScript, right? That's why I had already pasted it. Now what? Read line dot on line, right? And let's just call the input that we are taking as radius, right? Then what are we going to do thereafter? We want to print the area and the perimeter, right? So how will we calculate the area? Area is equal to, you can see the formula for area in mathematics is pi r square, right? And we are basically instructed here, take the value of pi as 3, right? So although I can directly write 3 here, but let's make it a little bit more dramatic because we know the idea of const and let, right? So let's just declare the const pi as 3, right? Why am I declaring it as a const? Because we never need to change it in this program, right? So the value of pi has been told to us as 3, so we will keep it as 3, right? So this is the like value of pi that we have to consider. Area of a circle is basically pi r square. So r into r, right? This is the area of a circle. That's what we are going to write here, right? Pi into r into r. This is the area. And what is the perimeter? What is the perimeter? 2 pi r, right? That is the formula of the perimeter. Two into pi into r. So these are mathematical formulas, right? I am not constructing anything here. This is just how it is, right? So perimeter is equal to 2 into pi into r. And now what do I need to do? I just need to log these results. So console dot log area and console dot log perimeter. That's all, right? So you can even try to go ahead and just see what the output is going to be. And sorry, force of habit. Whenever I solve this question, I take the variable name as r. That's what's stuck in my brain. The variable that I have taken here is radius, right? So now that I'm using r here, it is saying r is not defined, which is true also, right? So let's just do one thing. Let's replace radius with r because I've used r in a lot of places, right? Because the mathematical formula that we see in, while we are studying circles is, we always say 2 pi r, pi r square. That's why force of habit, right? So I'm just replacing it with r, right? Let's just see. Let's just try to run the code now. 4824, 2 into, so sorry, yeah, pi r squares, 3 into 4 into 4. 4 into 4 is 16, 3 into 4, 48, and 2 pi, yeah, working fine. You can even go ahead and try to submit this. But that's not the point, right? The point is that you understand. Sorry, what happened? Expected output is this. Can't be the case, or can it be? I don't know. So maybe this is absolutely wrong. Okay. And I'll just get it rectified. This is an issue with the question, right? So don't worry. Our solution is correct only, right? This is not done. Okay. So pi r square expected output is a negative number. So that's an incorrect value that is present there. But yeah, we'll get it sorted. Okay. Anyways, you can see the perimeter is correct. The reason why we are getting this whole error is, we'll tell you later, right? We have not seen what overflow and all those things are. Anyways, the logic is pretty basic, right? And you could see, if we just go back to the submission, we got 18 marks for that, right? So we failed after a particular number of test cases, and that is because the test case itself is wrong. Our logic is correct only, right? So yeah, that is just a bonus question that we solved. And the main thing that I wanted to tell you was, this is how you take a user input, right? And I know it's not very convincing, but at the same time, we don't know enough theory to understand this concept in a very crystal clear manner, like we have covered everything else so far, right? So let's just wait for it. Let's just wait till we, enter the main course and we actually start studying it in a full-fledged manner, right? But till then, that is all we can afford, right? That is all we can discuss here. And anyways, don't get too emotional about this topic. Just understand what is being done, understand the different aspects, and just keep implementing that. And as and when we see the other use cases, we will just keep discussing those as well, right? But just keep this topic to a very, like, don't get emotional about this topic, right? We have other topics to gain more logical clarity on. We will discuss and we will just use our brain there. Let's not, spoil our time after this one. Okay. Anyways, having said that, I will just go back to the, yeah, can see that the poll results. Okay, one or two people are not here. Now you guys have my number. Just ping me anytime you want. Have any doubt, just let me know. Any time of the day, anytime, right? And yeah, having said that, I'll just hand it over to Chirag. Just a second. एक second ना चिराग. Yeah, I guess Chirag is added now. Yes, I'll just make him the host and leave. Cool, guys. Good night. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Chirag, thank you. Bye. Bye.
All right, bye-bye. Just give me a minute. I'll just turn on my camera. All right, I hope you guys can see me. Hope you had a lovely session with Bhavya. And okay, then we can move on to the doubts if you guys have any. All right, any kind of doubts, because as I just listened, Bhavya, you guys had a very heavy lecture for today. But that is again, that is how this topic unfolds, all right? Because user input from in any language, be it any language, it is something which students don't really get at the beginning, but this is something you just need to remember. This works like this, all right? And once you are into backend development in the main course, when you're building projects, you'll get to know how this is working. Till that time, you just need to practice it. Okay, how this is working. You should know read line dot on. I enter line and I mention the variable name and I'm getting the user input. Simple as that. Okay, just keep it like that and do not think too much about it. Okay, so Bhavya has mentioned arrow functions. बाद में. Okay, acha, that's Bhavya. So sorry. All right. Okay, so you guys can discuss if you, well, you guys can decide if you have any doubts. So we can discuss that accordingly. Okay. So yeah, I'm waiting for you guys. You guys can tell me whatever topic you want me to discuss. But as Bhavya said, and I would also recommend you guys do not stress too much about the user input topic. You will get it as you move along. Okay. The more questions you solve, the more practice you do, you'll get it how you need to take that user input. Okay. It is more like when you guys were taught the variable names of let, var, and const. Okay. You guys didn't, at that time, that also might have felt why are we using const only? In other languages, we are using int or string or anything like that. Okay. But why are we using let, const, and var here? Okay. Similar is with this topic as well. So initially you will feel what is this read line? How is this working? But if you just take it as it is, okay, we use read line to take the user input for the time being, then you won't face that many problems with it. Okay, specifically for the problem solving. Okay, I need not worry too much about it, because when you move on to actual portals like lead code or any other portals like that, you won't have to take user inputs. Okay, just focus on the concept building, how things are working, how actual code needs to be written. Okay, that should be the first priority. You'll get the user input topic along the way. Okay, so yes, please go on, ask your query if you have anything. So I'm waiting for all of you. Are there any students in the lecture? Because I don't think I can see a lot. Okay, there are 12 people only. So please feel free to write down your query. Okay. Please do so if you have anything. So, or any general doubt if you have, apart from JavaScript, if you want to ask anything, you can. Okay. You guys had a heavy session today, so let's have a simple doubt session wherein just it's an open platform. You can ask anything you want. Okay. So Okay. I think a lot of you are tired by the session today. Okay. For this information, payment related, you can contact your batch managers or anyone from the HR team, because I am not aware of the payment details. So for this, you can ask your batch manager or anyone from the HR. So when we try and when we run the user input, then we can raise any doubts, sir. Right now, no doubts, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, wonderful. Anything else? Not just this topic. If you have anything else in general related to coding or today, as we can, as I'm not seeing a lot of JS related doubts, so we can have any placement related doubts or anything like that. Well, anything in generic, not specific to how much this thing pay after placement or anything. So I'm not aware of that. Okay, if any generic questions you have, you can put them down. Okay. And do bear with me, I'm having a bad throat today, so yeah. Okay, let's see, let's wait then. I just wanted to suggest you guys be clear about the rules of let, var, and const, okay? Because you're on the very beginning stage. So I would recommend all of you to know what is the difference between let, var, and const, okay? That should be pretty clear to you. There are a lot of differences. Well, if you just search it on the internet, let versus var versus const, you'll find a number of articles, okay? So just take into consideration the 3 or 4 main points, okay? So yeah, so that in future you're not confused with that. Okay. Although it doesn't really matter, like if you just use let or var, so it won't really make any difference in the projects you'll be doing for, let's say, for 2 months from now. Okay. So for those projects, it won't matter, but this is something which you can be asked in the interview. Okay. So it's good if you can prepare this at the beginning. Okay. Just be crystal clear about your concepts, whatever is being taught, except for this user input. Okay. This you'll get to know when you move on in the further modules, when you actually build some projects. Okay. And try to do your assignments on time, whichever has been allotted to you. Okay. That is also very important. Do not think a lot about whichever what questions I need to do from which portal. Okay. For the time being, you guys are on a very beginning stage. So it's important that you do the questions which have been given to you on portal, because they have taken those questions they have taken the best questions from various portals. Okay. That is how the course has been designed. So yeah, please do not move for a lot of resources. Do not move out for a lot of resources. For the timing, just stay focused. Whatever they are giving you, just do that. Just understand your lectures and solve your assignments, and that's it. If you get any time, then you can move on to a few easy questions. Okay. So yeah. And for DSA, again, I would suggest do not be too specific about language. Like I know a few of you might be familiar with Java or C++. Okay. So do not stress too much about it if you're not good at the JavaScript syntax. Okay. Because for DSA, what I have seen is that a lot of companies do not really care about the language. Okay. In fact, a few of them might not even expect you to code in JavaScript. If you can, that's a good thing. But if you cannot, then you can code in C++ or Java anytime. Okay. So if you're comfortable with that, you should know about that. For DSA, the main crux of DSA, if I would say, that is concept building, the logic building. If you can solve the solution, if you can build the logic for it. Okay. Pardon my words, but if you can just build the logic for it, then it can be really good for you. Okay, that is what they want to know. Okay, how do you approach for a particular problem? Okay, so yeah. Okay, Let me just quickly grab some water. Just I'll fetch some water for myself. Just give me a minute. Yeah. Yeah. Again, do not shy in asking anything if you have for today. Okay, because okay, I'm having one doubt, sir. That means once a value is assigned, it can be changed later. Okay, assigned it cannot. What about var? For var, the value can be changed. Okay, if you declare var, then you can change the value later on. Okay, but I think for let, another difference will be that you need to initialize let. Okay, like you cannot just do let x. You need to add some value to it if you're declaring it. Let x is equals to 0. Okay, that is not the case with var. If you just do var x, so that'll work. Okay, so yeah, as I said, that there are a lot of differences. And see, in development, it is very important that you need to, you should learn to get your queries clear by your own. Okay, you learn this with time, but you should begin it from now on. Specifically, if it's any theoretical concept, surely you can ask it here, but always try to read a few articles on the internet. The plus point of that being, it'll help you a lot in the interview, because when you're giving an interview, sometimes it happens that you know the answer but you're unable to explain it because you do not have the proper words in your mouth, or you do not just know how to what do you call it, phrase that sentence. Okay, so it's very important you read articles on the internet. Just read definitions or things like that on the internet. That'll improve your language. Okay, you'll get to know about the computer science terminologies, how you need to phrase a definition. Okay, let's say this is the difference, let, var, and const. Okay, so you might know about a few differences, but it is very important that how you present it in the interview. Okay, so that is something you need to know, and that you'll only know when you read a lot. Okay, not just the notes they are giving you, but apart from that, a few articles on the internet, because people have written it in very good what do you call as the scientific language, in simple layman's terms, if I would phrase that. So that will be like, it's a very good scientific language you find on the internet. So not all of it, but a few words need to be there in your mind whenever you're explaining your answer. This gives a good impression to the interviewer that you have been familiar with this topic for a long time, and that is why you read a lot of articles, and therefore you are able to answer it in this particular way. So that is something which is very, very important. Okay, interviews are not just about answering questions. It is not a viva. It is more like a discussion between two people. So the better you speak, the better are the chances of getting selected. Okay. Yeah. I think I need to improve my camera. My camera's pretty bad. I'll get a good camera for myself in the next few days, probably on the new year. Um, okay. Feel free to shoot up your questions. Okay. Sir, our second round is a coding test. Is there any idea? Second round is a coding test. Okay. That will be something like that. You'll be given 3 to 4 questions. Okay. That would again vary on the company. Okay. They let you know, okay, probably whenever you will receive a test link from their side, so you can open that test link and you can check how many questions are there. Okay, so probably at max there can be five. Okay, not more than that, and that would all depend on the time. Let's say it's a 1 hour test. Okay, so I don't expect more than three questions in a 1 hour test. Okay, and if there are more than three questions, then that will be very easy. Okay, so you'll have those questions, you'll have to write down the code and you'll have to pass all the test cases. Okay. So yeah, that'll be it. And I would suggest try to complete the test by any means. Okay, because nowadays what happens is that most of the tests are online, specifically if it's an off-campus. When off-campus tests, what happens is that a lot of people are there, a lot of coders are there, and they have a lot of what you call as external resources. Again, I'm not saying you to do that, but be open to just completing the tests. Okay, that should be a priority when it comes to the coding round. If you want to get shortlisted for the interview round, then it is very important, specifically on a fresher level, that you get all the questions with all the test cases passed. Okay, so it's like 100 out of 100. Even if you get 90 out of 100, there are very less chances that you will be shortlisted for the interview round. Okay, that is how things work now. So yeah. Okay. Mhm. Okay, let's see if I have another query. Good night, bye, sir. Chalo, good night, everyone. If you guys, I think few of you are here. Okay, I'm here for another 5 6 minutes. Let's say till 30. So if you have any queries, you can ask that. Okay. All right. I'm happy to see that I was able to help you. So happy learning. Okay. Again, I'm here till 10:30. So you have another, let's say 10 minutes roughly. So you can shoot up your queries if you have anything to discuss. Okay. Okay. Hmm. And of course, as most of you are from engineering background, I was told most of you are undergraduate. So I would still suggest that just don't spend all of your time on the laptop, okay? Interact with people, speak with people, okay? Build new connections, okay? Because that is what's gonna help you in future, okay? So it's very important that you live your engineering life in a very good way, okay? Because again, it might sound a bit childish as well from my side, but again, that's a fact that these 4 years won't come back, okay? So yeah, study as well, but again, have good friends, have good connections, okay? So that is very important. Booleans again, Boolean is just a true and false value. Matlab, can you be a bit specific? What do you want to know about Booleans? In case of JavaScript, there is nothing separately called as Boolean. You just declare it as a let, var, or const, and Boolean can have a value of 0 or 1. So if a statement is true, let's say you want to check if any number is an even number. So you can check x modulus 2 is triple equals to 0 or not. Okay. So if that gives you 0, that means it's a true statement. Okay. So it'll have a value of 1. Let's say you just store it in a this thing. You create a separate variable. Let's write down the code for it. Okay, chalo. Let's not discuss it. Let's just write down the code for it. It won't take much time. Um, I'll just do a very short code for this, okay, because that's an easy thing. So, yeah. Okay, I hope all of you can see my screen. Okay. All right. Let's say I have a variable x. Okay. X is equals to 7. Okay. Now I want to check if x is an even number or an odd number. So let's take another thing y. Y is equals to x modulus 2 is triple equals to 0. Okay. That is when I divide x modulus 2. When I divide x by 2, then I get a remainder of 0 or not. So I'm checking if when I divide x by 2, so is the remainder equals to 0? I don't think so because x is 7. So this will be false. Okay. So the value of this will be 0 when you console.log it. So you will see that this value is 0. Now if I just want to check like a boolean, if this is an even number, so I can just do if y. If y is true, true means 1. Okay. In case of coding, when you want to add true, you can simply write true or you can just do 1. This also means true. So you can do console.log, let's say even number x. Okay. Else what you can do is console.log rubbish not even number. Okay. So this is what is called as a boolean. Okay. This is how you're checking. You're just checking. This is an expression. If this value is equals to 0 or not. If this value is equals to 0 or not. If it is, then it will give a value of 1. If it is not, then it will give a result of 0. Okay. So if it is 1, that means it is true. Those people who might be familiar with Boolean, you might have studied this in class 12th as well for that logic gates. Okay. So if if it's true, then it means that it's 1. Okay, boolean mein. In boolean expression, true means 1. So if it's 1, you just print even number x. And if it is not, if it is 0, then you print rubbish. It's not an even number. Okay. So this is how we check booleans. Okay. So yeah, that is all. That is a introductory idea about booleans. Okay. As we'll move on with the problems, we'd like to discuss more problems specifically if you have any problems, okay, in future. So yeah, okay. Okay, so I think we are up on time. Okay, so let's end this for today. Okay, in case you have any doubts, we can discuss it tomorrow. We'd be available tomorrow as well. So have a nice weekend. Stay happy, stay healthy, and happy learning. All right. Bye bye. Good night. Good night, everyone.